Hi there. Today I'd like to talk a little bit about guided discovery. So, guided discovery. Today I was observing a series of three lessons, and it was about the third conditional. If I hadn't done this, I never would have something, yeah? So the first lesson was a listening lesson, and it was to set the context, contextualize the three lessons, and it had a lot of examples of third conditional. So the second teacher needed to make sure the students understood the meaning of third conditional, they knew how to make it, and they knew about the pronunciation. So she used the materials in the book and adapted it so that uh, so that the students could work on their own through the material, and she did it online, and it's a it was a good lesson. So I started to record the lesson, and it didn't record the sound. So where we starting right here? This is a video. I've got my video going, and it's over top of this video here that's paused. And this video, it's a Zoom lesson, and we're now inside of a breakout room. So these three students are working, um, they're starting to work now. The teacher has given her PowerPoint to the students. Um, she said that the blue slides are for the activity. They've got about 10 minutes to work through this, and they stop at the green slide. So the students are sharing the screen and literally working through this one slide after another, and she's making sure they're keeping up. So the first part, it's about meaning, of course, so meaning of third conditional. So they had a long listening, and they're familiar with the context. So this is quickly a gap fill with sentences from the listening, and they're just doing this to remember the situation, the listening that they had. Yeah. So students are working through this, and I'm skipping through a bit. Okay. Right. So they get through there, and they're familiar with those sentences. Now they're going to look at these two sentences up close. Right. So those are two examples of the third conditional, and these are literally CCQs, concept checking questions. So third conditional literally means, well, see, the students go through and tick, right? They go through and tick, and basically, the woman, she didn't kill the man, she didn't get into trouble, the men ran away, right? So this is just checking the meaning to make sure students understand it, yeah? Okay. Okay, then there's a little summary of those two sentences. Now, these are upper intermediate students. They can read this and understand it. Um, it's complicated. It's a bit complex because we're using the structure is a bit complex here. But they're working through it together. The teacher's making sure that they're okay. This is a bit about the form here. It's not entirely accurate, but the students followed this, and they answered the questions, and they know, for example, this is the have been, present perfect, or perfect infinitive, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, modal plus present perfect right there. They understood that. And then later on, there's a slide about uh, modals. Yeah. Okay, so students worked on this with meaning and form. So by doing the activity, they weren't reliant on the teacher to clarify meaning and form of the grammar. The students did that with the materials, and it wasn't teacher led. So there's also another group of students who are working at the same time on this same activity, and the teacher is going back and forth between the two breakout rooms to make sure that they're okay. Okay, you can also have pronunciation questions here, but we're running a bit short on time. That's the feedback right there. Yeah, so we came back. This is the main group. Um, some of these students were in the other group working on this. So the teacher's going through here, making sure they have the answers, um, also clarifying as she goes along. She finishes up uh, with some, where is it? Pronunciation, yeah. Let's see. Great. So she's got weak forms right there. She's got some stress marked. Um, and she does some drilling here. And then later on, the students go and do some pronunciation. Yeah. Right? Where's the pause button? Okay, here is loud. Here is an example of another guided discovery. Now, guided discoveries, what's important is a part for the oh my goodness, let me pause. Okay, here is another example of guided discovery. Now, in the video that we just saw, right? So in this video, we saw that it started from a list of sentences right here, and the sentences came from listening from before. So it often comes from some kind of text, like a reading or listening. Uh, Course books, it's easier for the course book to provide it like that. It can be easier for the teacher to provide it like that. You don't need a text, but it does contextualize the grammar point really well. So here's one that I made. It starts with the text, and then block 3 and 4 help with the meaning a bit, right? So just question story about from my childhood, questions from the reading. That's all about the reading, really, text. And then we start to look at the language from the text. So look at this line and then some concept checking questions about that. Yeah. And then, right, this one also helps with meaning. These are questions about, what are they about? Okay, this is about meaning, right? These are questions about form. How do you make it? Yeah, students get to work on this by themselves. Teacher just walks around, monitors, make sure everyone's okay. Pronunciation, underline the stress in the sentences, right? There's like a practice activity. There's even an editing at the end, right, for students. So it has a practice. The guided discovery part of this lesson it's not the reading, it's when they start to look at the language from the text and answer questions about meaning and form. Now the teacher can do form and pronunciation in front of the class in a teacher-led way rather than with students. Rather than a teacher-centered way, rather than a learner-centered way. Here's another example of a guided discovery. So I would do this session face-to-face with my trainees on Salta, and I would put these sentences just like this. Nothing about this bring the snake home, the snake. Nothing about that on the board. So I put the you shouldn't have done that. I could have stepped on it. It couldn't have hurt her. I should have left it alone. I just write those on the board and I tell the trainees, all right, tell each other what those mean. And they even get a grammar book out and okay, they toil a bit for a few minutes. Then lesson number one, nothing makes sense outside of context. So what's the context? I tell them a brief story. When I was 16, I found a snake outside and I put the snake in my book bag and I brought the snake home and the snake escaped in my room and it was gone for 2 or 3 days. Then I was at school one day and my mother got me out of school and she was crying and she was so scared she was crying. She said, "There's a snake at the house." And then uh, I told her what happened and she was very upset and he said that I could have given her a heart attack. Um, she was also very scared. Like she also like she was walking through the house and it was dark. Maybe I mean it was possible to step on it too. Yeah. All right. And then I asked the trainees. All right, these sentences on the board. Who said that? Those sentences. And then they say, "Mom said this. Mom said that. Matthew said this. Matthew said this," expressing some kind of regret. And now everyone works on, they look at these sentences up here and they decide these sentences A, B, C, D, is it true? Which are about to pass? All of them are. Okay, that's a model. Keep going. Then they fill that in and they even have at the bottom, two is about two is about meaning, right? There's nothing about form on here. And then because I'm in China, we've got WeChat. And so they can scan this QR code I've set up and they can listen to a recording that I've made and they can mark the stress. You shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have done that. Okay, so they hear the rhythm and they identify weak forms in that. So, some ideas for guided discovery, task design. So, first of all, you make sure that the sentences you want to look at, they need to be tricky grammar, right? Something like some, any. What's the difference there? Articles. When do you use those? All right, so sentences in context. Not that's so that when they answer questions about meaning, they've got a clear situation to support the meaning of that sentence. They're not just using their knowledge of the grammar in that sentence to answer the questions, right? So it could just be CCQs. You can have multiple choice with timelines, right? Right. Form, it could be students write it out, you give them a model. Um, Questions about the sentence structure. Um, Transformation here, make the sentence negative, make it question. Does the word order change in a question? You could use a table like I did with used to and would. Pronunciation, here's some ideas. Now, as a quick summary, why use it? It is student-centered. Students work hard. They're ideally speaking English or the language you're teaching throughout the activity, and the teacher walks around and makes sure they're okay. It's not relying on the teacher teaching one lesson that's being received in 30 different ways. Instead, everyone is working on the edge of learning. It is active learning. Um, It's not best for everyone. Not everyone wants to learn this way. Some people want to be fed or spoon fed, yeah. Um, it's really good for higher level students. For lower level students, they can do this if it's especially graded. So really easy questions, sorting, gap fills. Um, Use it with tricky grammar, you know, not really straightforward grammar. Otherwise, why focus on it? Um, right? It is a bit intellectual and should write preferences here. Okay, and great. That's a summary of guided discovery. It's something you should know about. You don't need to do it all the time. It's good to have it up your sleeve to make life spicy. It's the spice of life. Okay, thanks for watching to the end. Bye bye.